outside. So tonight we are going to table the minutes from the January 2nd and the January 9th meeting. Reserve fund stands at $35,000. We do have a public forum for someone, if they would like to bring something that's not on the agenda. Nope, I'm seeing none. Under new business, we're going to have budget meetings with the Council on Aging, Technology, and the accountant. And then our old business items are listed there. We'll talk about them. Other business communications, we have one communication from the executive assistant to the Board of Selectmen. And then at the bottom of the page, you can see the rest of our meetings for our budget meetings for the next 6 weeks. So, let's see. You have in your packet that was prepared by Elizabeth a copy of the agenda we just went by, and also budget summaries for the Council on Aging, as was submitted by the department head, Technology, as was submitted by the department head, and the accountant, as was submitted by the department head. So, also you can follow along if everybody has a copy of the Article 2 that was prepared for our joint meeting with the Board of Selectmen that has the town administrator's recommendations. So sometimes you can use that as a comparison as to what was presented by the budget manager and what is the recommendation right now from the town administrator. So with that, we have a few minutes. There's nobody outside?
No.
Okay. So we could go back a little bit if you want to talk about anything that was related to the budget from 25, which is in our old business. We could get into subcommittee reports, probably be a good idea.
Yeah.
So Kathleen, for the Capital Committee?
We are scheduled to meet on Thursday, January 25th.
Okay.
That's not this week, next Thursday.
All right, and the Whitman-Hanson Regional School District Agreement Amendment Committee?
We are scheduled to meet on February 12th. I did get the transportation issue raised and shared information with Laura Fitzgerald at the last meeting, and we'll move forward in a month.
Yes, Rosemary.
Can I ask that we add an expense issue, and I don't think anyone's looking at this, but I'm going to use an analogy. I'm going to use the analogy of sending your plow trucks out to plow the roads before the snow falls. That would not be cost effective, and we'd all agree to that. But the start times, the more I look into the data, the children's minds aren't even awake, that they're not absorbing that information, and that there's no real, I mean, you can answer this, there's no real financial cost to shifting the time so much.
Probably is, but
But it's significant. Is it significantly enough to lose?
yes. Busing determines. You have so many buses that you need for the high school.
Yeah.
And then those buses have to get, if they're the first to go, then they have to go to the next schools, which are the middle schools, and then they have to go to the 2 of the 3 elementary schools and then the 3rd elementary school. So the high school determines how many buses you need.
I think a conversation on school start times in this agreement to meet when children actually are learning, to make sure that when we're paying a teacher, what that teacher is teaching is getting into the child's mind, and what we're not checking a box. Just like I said, I don't want to send a plow truck out to plow a road that doesn't have snow in it. I don't want to send a teacher in to teach a mind that's not ready to teach.
I completely agree with you, but I think that's more of a school committee policy than
It might be, but as we're doing the agreement, it
I'll
might
check
be.
to see if it's within the purview of a regional agreement. If they have start times, it's one of the things that a regional agreement can address.
Thank
I
you.
will look into it.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Thanks,
Just
Kathleen, for
cost
adding that.
effectiveness.
Yep.
Okay, anybody have anything else that they want to have Kathleen bring up in the Agreement Amendment Committee? All right, we'll move on then to the Middle School Building Committee.
So we had a meeting last Tuesday that I reported on, and subsequently, the town administrator reported to the Board of Selectmen that the bond issue right now is scheduled to be issued at a 4%, not a 5.5% interest rate, which will save the taxpayers hundreds of dollars a year. That information was not shared with the middle school building committee 2.5 hours prior to the Board of Selectmen's meeting, nor did the school business administrator, Mr. Stanley, share that information with the middle school building committee. So I emailed Fred Small, the chair of the committee, and expressed my displeasure and asked that in the future, each meeting will have report, an update on the funding for the school building as a standing agenda item. Because there was no way we should have been reading in the newspaper something that should have been reported that night to the committee.
Good, helpful.
And that's where I saw it.
How much money at stake?
Yeah.
That's my
Is that,
report on it.
is that like a locked-in number, though? Have they locked it in, or is that just because the rates have dropped a little?
Well, I said it's fluid, but the school is budgeting $240,000 for interest for the town of Whitman to pay on a band, for a $6 million band for 2024, so for fiscal '25. So $6 million, 4%, 240,000, that seems pretty firm to me. And then going forward, when they roll it out, will they still be able to lock into the 4%? I don't know. I don't have those answers because I wasn't able to ask those questions.
True.
But it looks promising.
Excellent. Okay, anything else for Kathleen for the middle school building committee? All right, we'll go with one more and then we'll move into our first budget meeting. So the Public Works Department Building Committee just real quickly did meet, and we drafted the notice to proceed, which is the NTP for the contractor. Absent of the funding still is tied up in that special legislation, but the notice to proceed had to be specifically worded to utilize only the funding we have in place right now. So the money that needs to be bonded is the money that was approved at the election or at the ballot initiative, and that is the purpose for the special legislation. So just on a side note, I made a commitment to call Senator Brady, and I did, and he assured me that the special legislation was now with the governor, and she signs things very quickly. So that should be moving out of the, with a signature soon, so we can get that bonding out and go full bore on getting the shovel in the ground in the next couple of months. And that's all I have from that. Yes?
Brownfield cleanup, anything about the brownfield cleanup there, and if we're eligible for grants for that?
No, but that's definitely something that will be part of the discussion with that, because it'll be part of the project, really. I'll make sure that gets on the agenda.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Anything for the Public Works Department Building Committee? All right, with that, we'll invite Mary Holland up to the front of the room.
Come in here, feels like going to the principal's office.
For what?
Miss Gorilla.
Sorry.
You always get a warm welcome
I
here.
know, you're all warm. It's just the feeling of coming here. Sorry.
That's all right. So what we'll do is we'll go around the table. We have a few new faces to
Faces.
say.
Ralph Mitchell, I'm one of the older guys.
I was going to say, you're not new. Mike Warner, nice to meet you.
Kathleen O'Taylor.
I know Kathleen, Rosemary.
Rosemary.
Al
Now.
Daffney, Manny, Mary
And
White.
We know,
Yeah.
so it's,
And Justin Casanova Davis is not here.
he's really small.
Yes.
Yes.
But that's another new member. So I direct your attention to Department 25, which is the Council on Aging, if you're using the budget worksheet. Department 25 and the Council on Aging starts on line 111 on page 7 of 9. And Mary, I just want to start off by, before you get into your presentation, by recognizing the fact that this department has complied with the directive of the town administrator in preparing your budget, as was spelled out in the budget mailing. So with that, I'll let you go.
All right, so, and again, I know I've done this a whole 2 times before, but I'm just reading you the director line, what I'm asking for, right? Or each line.
Yep.
All right, so the first line, 111, director, is, the request is $76,250. Line 121 is the administrative assistant, $45,930. Line 157 is our drivers, $40,844. Clerical, line 129 is $34,852. Line 131 is outreach coordinator at $29,844. And here comes my ask, line 585, I'm asking 26,000, an increase of 11,500 for cleaning of my building.
Line 585. and-
585.
So you're amending
That's my
or submitting?
expense and maintenance.
So from 14.5. it's
Till
going up to
26,
26.0.
that's an increase of $11,500. I'm pretty sure Todd DeCudo was here last week and kind of chronologically laid out what's going on with the cleaning. But we don't currently have custodian. Yeah. So I don't feel like I'm really asking. I'm kind of asking to be put back to what we did have at one point that somehow went away. Yeah.
I'm gonna be quiet.
Well,
Yeah.
for now, we're all going to be, I'm sure we'll be talking about it. So we're going to open it up to questions once you're, is that the
That was my
final?
last, yeah, that's my last.
Okay,
Pretty straightforward, and then.
so I'll have to rescind my,
Phrase.
Do
My
you want
brain's
to start again?
well, no, it's understandable. You know, we talked about this last year. The facilities manager requested another person, as everybody remembers. And it was obviously not something that we're looking at for a budget item, is to add a new person. So it seems like the tact is now that we don't have enough staff, that person is only doing the town hall now, right? So I think we're gonna see this in more than one department, for someone or a service to do the cleaning, right? So this is something that
understanding.
I think that's gonna have to be talked about, you know, with the Board of Selectmen too. So did you have the budget meeting with Mary Beth already?
Yep.
And you brought this up?
Yep.
Oh. And how did she respond?
I don't think she's not against it. The question again always is where's the money going to come from?
Right, yeah.
But I feel like the Council on Aging does not ask for a lot, and I think having a custodian is just
Where
a
did the money
basic.
go?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
that's where it's going. Where'd it go?
Right, well, it's not that we lost the money, we lost the service, right? If you remember Todd's presentation, when he was here, he said, back when he was the person that was doing it, he was doing all the buildings, right? For what he was making, he managed to clean all the buildings, right?
Yeah.
And now, the new guy, I guess, doesn't have the same capacity to do that? Or is this just more of a leverage to get another person in that
Okay.
department?
This reminds me of we need to move the dog officer and the money stays there and we have this shift over to here and one section grows and one section grows. If that, I want to look at, I'd like to see, and I said this to you on the phone, I'd like to see a look back of 5 years and how each department grew. Because some of these departments are growing far greater than the 2.5% with these shifts of where we do our services and, you know, just shifting things around to sort of artificially growing departments. And I
Yeah.
think, not your department in terms of all of a sudden the service isn't there and it creates the need, but there was money there.
Yeah.
It was happening.
Yeah, I think we definitely need, I think it would be beneficial for this committee to see a spreadsheet that showed who was doing what in the last 5 years, like you said, a look back, and
supposed to be
and
that.
why it can't be done for what it was being done for then, right? So,
Inflation rate.
And
huh?
Of each department, because
Well-
I think you, I could tell you in my.
so as Todd said last week, now we can just start, we're getting each department in and everybody's adding in this cleaning fee. So now why don't we could add it all up if Council on Aging is looking for 11.5, police is looking for 20,000. I mean, already
pull it out of
we're
that
going up to a
budget.
salary
You
of a
would pull it
person. I
right out
know.
of that budget that was, because Todd's budget was doubled recently, 2 years ago, I believe. That was a doubled, and the reason for it was so that we could handle all of the buildings.
Right. Well, there was no need. There was no doubt that a facilities manager was needed. I mean,
Right, yeah.
right. But this, I don't think, is the best way to handle this particular issue. Right? Is to, you know, the person that was doing it now stopped doing it and is only doing it in this one building. Right? So we're going to see all these additional
Yeah,
line
and the
items.
library too, the library.
Right? I
He's
mean,
doing this in the library and that's it?
what did he say last week?
I missed
Well,
the, I apologize.
the library, when they were in, I think everybody's now talking about the service.
Right.
Everybody's looking for a service.
Yeah.
Library, police, Council on Aging, yeah. So, I mean, it needs to be done, but you maybe put the dollars, like we said to Todd, put a little spreadsheet together. Well, what are your, but he feels it's the way to go.
Just library FYI has 17,000 for contract, including contracted building cleaning. So this is the notes from the library.
Yeah, so that's 17.
I think that's what they have. I think they get 2 days a week. I should have grabbed when I came over, but I did ask. They get like 2 days a week. Police gets like 3 days a week at 27 something. We don't have any.
Right.
So how did you get the $11,500?
So Todd reached out to a few different companies, and that was this Tully's was the more affordable of the ones that he spoke to. That would give us, I'd love 5 days a week. That would give me 3 days a week of having somebody come in, which is better than what I have, which is 0.
Do you know, is that the one he's using for the other buildings?
Tully's does DPW. Mass State Cleaning does the police, the library. We did inquire with them, but their number was much higher than Tully's.
This seems fractured.
Well, it seems like this should be an issue before the Board of Selectmen.
Yeah, this seems like a very fractured.
It's definitely a policy issue right now, I think.
One company
You
should
you
do.
have a facilities department. Why are you not managing the facilities? It's a similar conversation we've had about the electrical and some of the utilities that are, some departments manage it themselves, others it goes under a central budget. But we need to know where it is, and of course, things like that, you can maybe negotiate a better price, right?
With a larger amount.
That's kind of, I'm sorry it was late, but I think you're touching base on what I sort of was hinting at our last meeting. But like understanding what the amount of the costs are, you centralize those costs, and then you can negotiate with just one company. We've done that before in Brookline, because we were piecemealing it. We got one company who brought down the rate significantly. Or if you're spending an exorbitant amount, why not look at a part-time person, allow facilities to direct it, and then offset it to whatever departments or, you need to do it. So
Yeah.
I think we just need to have that conversation, understand the cost.
We
Right.
did have that conversation a few years ago, and we did increase our facilities, and that was part of that conversation. And that's where I wanted to look at the 5-year look back,
Yeah.
because here we are, this is what we paid for, and we're not receiving it. The exactly that centralizing was really, you're right,
So,
part of the reasoning.
so with these 3 buildings, Council on Aging, Police, and Library, I'm coming up with $55,500 for cleaning for a year.
Plus department,
You
you
forgot-
said
And
the
that's-
building department as well.
That's exorbitant.
No, that's just the Council on Aging, Police, and Library, just, I
Right.
think the numbers that we've had.
But the building department is also using a service. So there's more money that's coming in?
Well, the building department's in this building. The building department.
And then we, on top of that,
So,
pay a facility.
so the regular
So
custodian, I
they're
think,
using our existing facility, okay, it's not an external.
No, that
That's-
person's in the facility manager's budget.
and I think he
It's
just.
custodian is the top line in that budget. That one individual used to do, did he used to come to the library, that person?
Well,
Before becoming facilities, is that
Todd.
what you're saying? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he used to come over to the Council on Aid. He used to do all the buildings at one point.
Right.
Didn't we buy him a
besides
truck?
Town Hall.
Wouldn't we purchase a truck for
And
that?
to be honest with you, he did do it all, and he will admit it himself. He did it all as best he could.
Right.
But you know what I mean? Was it fully getting the attention it should have gotten with one person trying to do it all?
Right.
The police had theirs increased after COVID. I think there was COVID brought in the police, and it's kind of sad that the senior center didn't have that same, because
right.
that's our vulnerable population. Schools and senior center would have been the vulnerable populations for that, but that's
Yeah,
their choice.
so I don't want to spend too much time on that one line,
Yeah.
because I think it needs a broader conversation with the
Okay.
Board of
Yeah,
Selectmen.
right.
But I understand that, we all understand that there's a need, yeah.
And my reason for asking is I said that, I've had conversations and we haven't gotten anywhere in the last year or so of trying to rectify this as is. So that's why I'm like, if I don't bring it up tonight,
That's right, yep.
it'll continue on and I will still have no cleaning.
Who's cleaning it now?
So the town hall one comes over, empties the trash and does some basics, but nothing near what should be getting done.
Who cleans the toilets? I'm sorry.
One of the two here, but it's, again, not as often as it should be. My senior workplace helper does it once a week.
So council on aging staff members cleaning.
Well, one of our senior workplace,
Oh, a senior citizen.
Yeah.
Volunteer.
yes,
Oh,
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
Oh
Once a
my
week, he
God.
will do it when he's in, and then the other time it gets, again, nothing's getting done as it should on a
Right,
regular
on a regular
basis. I get
basis, yeah.
kind of the basic piecemeal stuff.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Other questions for Mary? Michael?
So, one of the things, I'm gonna steal one of yours, which is how is the demographics changing and is it having any effect on your needs?
As far as I think, I mean, again, what I'm asking for, I think is a basic, but I think we're doing great, honestly, as we are. We have a lot more people coming in, we have a lot more programming going on and so forth, but with what I have and what I'm doing, I think we're doing a great job over there, and I don't mean to sound whatever, but a lot more people are coming in on a regular basis that we didn't used to see.
Have you looked at, you know, we have budget, obviously.
Yeah.
One way that is easier to justify changing, if we have more people that are taking advantage of the program or more people using the program or elderly people here in the town, at some point, I don't know if you've done this yet, but break this down. What's your budget and how does it break out by the number of users within the system? How has that changed? Life is not getting any cheaper out there, right? So it might be a way for you to come back and justify if you've got a 10% increase in use of program, then there should be some kind of a jive into the money that says, hey, we either have to increase it because it's the program's growing as opposed to just a regular, give me, another 2% or whatever.
Right.
So just something to think about.
Yep.
So one of the benchmarks they used to have is like how many meals do you serve, right?
Yeah.
So as part of your presentation, you could have a breakdown, like maybe somewhat similar to the library. What they do, they come in, they say how many programs, what we're doing in the community,
Yeah.
what services do we provide, and how has that changed in 5 years? So something like that, I think, could certainly help. Rosemary.
Do you still have the breakout for the trends towards an aging population here?
I don't have the numbers in front of me, but obviously
Yeah.
before when we talked about
When we talked
the
about-
demographics is that we have a much older population
And
than we do
it's
younger.
growing.
The interesting about, when you talk about older people though, is that I feel like it's kind of like three segments in our older population. You have your younger seniors, your middle seniors, and then your older seniors. You know what I mean? Like, and they're all in different things. The younger seniors might be newly retired. They're still doing different things. They're still out. They don't come to us for as much. They come more for when they're retiring. They come to our outreach, our Shine coordinator, to get their Medicare stuff set up, figure out what they're doing. Like I had a gentleman call today that Jill's going to call back as he's retiring and turning 65 in April, and you have to make sure you get all your ducks in a row before with all your stuff. So that goes on with our younger population. The middle population, I'd say, is probably the ones that we see the most of because they're in the building. They're at a different age. Sometimes you've lost your spouse, you've lost whatever. Those people are looking to get out, to socialize, to interact with people. And then our older population of the oldest may not always be in the building because of mobility issues, getting into the building. Those are more people that we may be calling, going out to, getting services that way to them. So it's like 3 tiers of the older population.
Okay. And I just had another question. Do you have any fees charged for anything? Do you have like any events that you charge a fee, or you have a revolving account at all?
So I was blessed, lucky, I don't know the words to use. I had someone that gave us a very generous donation that I've been using over the last year or so to do programs and things like that. Her stipulation is she didn't want it to be used for capital expenses, but to help enrich the lives of our seniors.
Oh.
So I'm able to draw off of that for the fees of the programs and things like that. And that's what we're using it for.
Okay, and then as far as grants go, do you have anything that you're looking into for grants, or have there been previous grants that were implemented?
So part of how I can fund things too, I get a formula grant that comes from the state. That's based on the number of seniors we have, and it's a dollar amount the state sets that we get. So.
And that's applied to your general budget? Does that supplement your
Yes.
585 expense and maintenance line?
Well, again, I use that and the other donation for running programs and things of that nature.
Okay.
Not usually for any capital expenses.
Okay. Further questions, Kathleen?
Just a quick one about the donation. Was that the generous donation in someone's will a couple of years ago?
Mm-hmm.
How generous was it?
Very.
150,000.
Oh, nice.
That's generous.
Yeah, so
That's not a forever generous.
It isn't,
It's
but
almost the total budget.
yeah, but it was,
Thank you, Mary.
it was, yeah,
But
it
that's not a
was
forever.
Is it
huge.
restricted per year? Any
Nope.
restrictions, just not
Nope.
capital?
Nope,
You could
just-
spend it all in one year.
you could, but obviously we're not going to. But we could, but I wouldn't, I would never, you know what I mean, like, it's great to have, to be able to put on the programs that we
Yeah.
do, you know? And not worry
A
about
little less
having-
stressful about having enough to,
Well, and not worrying about charging people,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
Like, that's the other thing, like, as we all know, everything's gotten so expensive, and we also get donations from Stop and Shop that we have a couple that goes and picks them up every Monday and Tuesday. So just today, like, the amount of bread and things like that that comes in that a lot of people come in and take advantage of. The third Thursday of every month, we have what's called Brown Bag. It's the Greater Boston Food Bank that we get the money food. The food pantry guys go and get the food and bring it. We give out probably close to 100 bags once a month to people that come in, and we don't know what we're going to get, but it's a variety of things that we get, you know.
Is that only seniors or is that?
Anybody can do it, but the majority of our people are seniors that are coming. You know, sometimes we get eggs, we'll get chicken, we'll get fish, we get some veggies, we get canned goods, we get rice, all different things, and it's a bag that they can come and get. If we have anything left from that, we keep it. We have a table we put it out on throughout the month, and people will come in and supplement their food and stuff through the table. And it's honestly amazing. I said just recently, sometimes the tables are overflowing when it comes in, and within a day or two, it's like gone. So that just shows you how much people need the assistance and come in for
And
it.
you've noticed a difference in
Definitely, it goes much quicker than it used to. Much quicker. Like, we'd always have, like, we could get through the month always having food to put out. Now I feel like sometimes, like, within a few weeks, it's all gone.
Okay, any further questions for Mary? All right, well, thank you very much for your information.
I'm going to leave you with a joke. What do you call people who take care of chickens?
what?
Chicken tenders.
Our joke for the day. Thank you for that, Mary.
I put out jokes to the seniors. I had a lady call me recently. She's in Hingham, and she goes, you know, I don't really need the information. I don't want to have the calls. Somehow she must have been here at some point and got in our database. I said, okay. I said, I can take you off. But I still want to get the jokes, she says. I said, you can't get the jokes if you don't get the information.
That's right.
She said, I'll stay on your list.
Oh, that good.
All right,
Thank you, Mary.
thank you very much.
Gosh,
Yeah,
you
Mary.
better than you got a joke? Nope.
Mary just dropped
You're
something.
gonna have to go look one up quick.
technology's here though, Rick.
There we go. We are happy to see you.
Follow Matt.
You were happy to see me last week and I wasn't even here.
I was after you.
No, I said you were happy to see me last week like 4 times, I wasn't even here.
Thank you, everyone.
All I kept hearing is technology's here, technology's next.
Oh, I know what you're saying. Yeah. I had the schedule wrong, that's what you're
Oh,
talking
okay. I thought I was confused because I'm listening and going, apparently I should have been there because Rick wanted me there, I guess.
Yeah, well, we look forward to hearing from you every year.
Oh, I look
So-
forward to this every year too.
Let me go around the table and introduce, we have two new members here. So go ahead, Ralph, you can start.
Ralph Mitchell, I'm one of the older ones.
Yes.
Mike Warner?
Mike, how are you?
Justin Casanova.
Good to see you.
Definitely no Tina.
Good to see you.
Rosemary Conley, how are you?
Yeah, happy Josh, how are you? Happy New Year.
And Chuck Colby's still here.
Still here.
Yep. All right. So technology, department number 8 is on page 2 if you're following along on the Article 2 that was prepared for our joint meeting. And it starts with line 112. And I sent this to the Council on Aging Director as she came in, but I'd also like to say it to you was thank you for complying with the directive of the town administrator and submitting your budget within the parameters that were spelled out in the budget mailing. So what we're gonna do is have you go over your budget as it was presented,
Sure.
and then we'll open it up to questions.
You guys. So
First of all, I think I'd want to make a comment in relation to, after listening to a little bit of your last meeting. To me, it doesn't seem clear to some that, sort of what the technology department does as far as to, I think, the chairman made a comment about, wasn't sure the library the technology department supported the library. So again, I just want to make sure everyone's clear on what we do. What our budget is obviously for in relation to the work that we do. So from the technology's perspective, we're supporting every department. So we're connected and integrated with every department in town, including the library. Not just, town hall and the senior center and the public works and public safety. It encompasses every department. Including the smaller departments, if you will, that in boards and committees that we interact with. So it's not just high level. It's we get down to the very low level as well. So at first I want to thank everyone here at the table for last year's support. I don't think there's any department head that would disagree. I think we made the right decision in adjusting the salary for the position that was being requested. So it has certainly been a game changer for me personally, as well as the department in general. From the time to support many of these departments or getting the answer to some of these common questions fairly quickly these days versus waiting until a phone call can be returned or whatnot. And some of these are time-sensitive situations. The town administrator's called a number of times. We've gone through a huge transition between all these different positions that were changing as far as a new TA, a new ATA, new assessor, a new town accountant. All of these create additional burden and work on the department. So it's definitely been a plus. So again, thank you. 112 is essentially the 2.5% that was, provided, to us essentially from the town administrator standpoint. She had, I think across the board, put the 2.5%. And again, the line 158 is the same thing. The town telephone system has not changed. GIS system maintenance has not changed. We did change GIS vendors, but again, we were able to keep everything, the way it is. The expense, of course, looking here, based on what was put together, we obviously are looking at an increase in a couple of different areas, and I think I highlighted these, myself to make it easier. I did provide the detailed budget information to Rick, a few hours ago. I wish I could have gotten it done sooner, but you have all the information. You have the.
Do you have a copy of that by chance?
I have a large copy here, but I also have the smaller copy. It's just hard to read, so I can pass this around if you want, or we can make copies of it if you like. It's
Copy? I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, I could do that.
No, I have actually in my pocket. Thanks. Thanks, man.
So just to start, the technology budget as it was sort of put together starting in 2012, we started consolidating, a few different budgets. We had pulled, money from the assessors for the software that they use, and we tried to sort of centralize and, any technology expenses. So the technology was buying the hardware, buying the software, and sort of more in control of what was being purchased, and made sure it was compatible with our systems and so on and so forth. And in doing that, of course, the technology budget, grew, from where it was originally in 2012 through, where we are today. The one thing that this town does not do is, aside from, of course, the public safety departments where they have the requirements for, keeping up their, emergency medical and stuff for the EMS, and the police department has their requirements for firearms and stuff like that. The one thing that I've, have been here for 12 years now, and realizing that the actual town only has $17,000 that was set aside for education for every department to utilize. Now, I mean every department, meaning town hall.
Selectmen's budget, right?
Correct, exactly. And I don't know, maybe you can disagree with me, but $17,000 doesn't go a long way when you're talking about, an IT course that we may take. the technology budget, as it stands today, does not have any professional development money built into it. So, if we're not learning on our own, we can't, attend conferences, we can't, take on these classes without attempting to try and get the money from the selectmen's education budget. And again, $17,000 across all these departments.
It's only 7, actually. So he's talking about line 712, so,
It just doesn't work.
yeah, it's only 7,000,
I
yeah.
think
Oh,
that's.
7,000, I'm sorry.
It was
So
7,000.
7,000.
It was,
I
it
could be
was,
wrong.
it was abysmally small, and I think
Yeah.
this has come up.
No, that's a
not
good point.
just
Okay.
with yours. And it's not just your department that needs, to make sure we want to have staff with the most updated,
Yeah, no, I mean, I'll give you an
accreditation and
example. We
courses,
just,
yeah.
we hired a town accountant and, unfortunately she, was familiar with the actual software we use, but if she was not familiar, like we've hired, folks downstairs in a variety of different positions, they don't know how to use the software. So it's now, other, department members trying to show them how to use it when in reality, you should get, educated on the topic.
Can you make a quick note to go back 4 years and check where it was? Because I believe Frank significantly cut it back 4 years. It was much larger than that.
I thought it was larger.
Yeah, so, and if I remember correctly, it was 4 years ago when it was pulled back.
The training line.
The whole
The selectmen's education line,
budget
whatever.
Yeah.
was slashed, and that was the largest part of it. That was slashed.
Yeah,
Four-
so
45.
at the end of the day, I'm looking for, $4,000, $2,000 for my, per class if we were to take it. I mean, I looked at, some of these variations in courses, and I mean, and they can run anywhere from $1,500 to $3,000 per course, and at the end of the day, if you want us to be able to, continuous, learning here and be able to, do what we need to do to succeed here, we need to be able to provide education, to employees. And it's not just, like I said, the technology department. Frankly, I don't think we're doing enough on the town level for the other departments in general. I just don't think we're providing the training that's needed for these departments to really run efficiently,
So Josh, would you be suggesting that supplement the selectmen's training line, or would you be proposing to increase your expense line with that $4,000?
Increase the expense line
Okay.
$4,000.
I would have to just quickly disagree with that because of the line item transfer, and this is because they're allowed to transfer within that to keep it within the school, keep it within the selectmen's, because then that could end up shifting into something else, and we'd still need the. We'd
Well,
still need to
let
do
Josh
that.
go through this
Yeah.
this spreadsheet, and then we'll talk about it.
Yeah, I'll talk further about that if you'd like, but I mean, are you saying that the 4,000 should go in the selectmen's education budget, or?
I think that we should broadly, I agree with you 100% that that's abysmal amount to educate. Abysmal. And that's my opinion. But we want to ensure that we're meeting a threshold of education that is across the board, that we have it for all staff that need it. And because we are able to, in each department, transfer, and you're able to control your budget, you could pull from that, and and it would happen with anyone. It's an emergency, I'm going to use it towards this. We could lose that sort of momentum in making sure that educational money is there. That's all,
Yeah, I mean, I think in general, looking at it, it sounds like a good idea, but at the end of the day, if one department takes more, then essentially leaves me with 2,000 instead of 4,000. That doesn't really do me any good, because essentially at the end of the day, I requested this on purpose so we have the money available. And I'm not saying the money's not going to be available, but I'm just saying in general, after we go through this, if there's only 3,000 left, what good does that do me? You know what I mean?
That doesn't do you any good, but you do understand that these things can come back to the finance committee and a request can be made. But it does allow for the monitoring and the ability to make sure that we're up to par on making sure all staff is educated and have access, that's all.
So I think if we take your comment one step further, Rosemary, we should quiz the rest of the department heads about what their educational needs are. And if in fact you wanted to include it in the selectmen's budget line, and then increase that budget line with everyone's requests, so that there's a sufficient amount in there
And
to
just a
train.
footnote, he's going to have a department that's going to need a larger proportion of that budget, because his department is one that is like cutting edge. It's developing, and there isn't, technology is new, and that's where a lot of education is going now. So.
Okay.
And just a question, and you're kind of looking at that as a result of the new consolidated budget that we switched over
I think
to?
the consolidated budget creates some list to not following through to making sure. My goal is to make sure that I can see where you're coming from, but to make sure that we're keeping up with the, education and support of all staff and departments.
No, I appreciate that. I mean, I think it's, like I said, it's not just the technology department. It's
It isn't
definitely,
just a talk, but you would require, that would be a reasonable.
Yeah, but
to
I
say
just,
you're going
unfortunately, like I
to-
said, it's one of those areas that significantly needs to be, looked
Addressed.
at because it's deficient across the board. And
Because, yes,
I don't think any department would disagree with me, aside from, of course, public safety have their own, training situations. But
Did they use any of that money last year, Rick, out of that $7,000?
I'm not sure how it was distributed, to tell you the truth. But I know we actually met with a couple of departments
Right.
last year that wanted to avail themselves to some training and had no money in their budget.
But I don't
And
even
we
think-
directed them to
I
that
don't think they
line.
followed up on it,
Yeah,
though.
well,
I think there was more
We've directed quite a
directed
few.
than was available in the fund.
Yeah,
Right.
Quick.
Right.
exactly, that's
So-
what I'm saying.
spotlight's on it.
Yeah, okay. So I think we all need to take a look at it, yep.
Exactly. So, we're in this day and age, of course, with every, day comes by, you see more and more cyber incidents, cyber attacks, and so on and so forth. So we're obviously trying to do what we can to, hopefully limit ourselves. I'm not going to say it's never going to happen, and hopefully it never does happen, but we're looking to extend our cloud-based backup, which is the quote, again, that was sent out in the email. I have a copy of it here if you'd like, but all that stuff was all emailed.
Today?
Yes.
Yeah.
Today. Yep.
So I didn't get it, so it didn't get forwarded to the committee. So,
Yeah, I wasn't sure what time you guys were
Yeah.
meeting today, but
Can I just ask, I'm working from the budget that was submitted whenever, that has a bottom line of salaries of $236,811, an expense of $316,263. How far off is that request from what you're going to be talking about?
I'm sorry, what was that again?
Okay, so the salaries, $236,811.
Yes, yep,
Expenses, $316,263.
correct.
So does that,
So this bottom line of this spreadsheet has different numbers, right?
267, 262.
Yeah, I rounded up, 267, 262. It's 262.78, so it's 263.
But that's not 316, 263, which is what is on the other sheet.
That's the,
Right? It's expenses.
yeah, but that includes everything. That includes the, if you look at the expense line, 585 on that sheet, 267, 263.
yeah?
Yep,
You see it?
267, 260.
That's the actual general technology expense. The technology expenses is inclusive of GIS, telephone system, which is another 49,000 combined.
All right, so the number, the 316 is total, including,
Telephone and GIS, correct.
okay,
Yeah. Does that make sense?
yeah.
Not yet. Because we just got this piece of paper.
Sure.
So how does this line up with 316? How do I get 316?
267, 262 at the end here. This is the general expense for technology. This does not include, if you look at the actual, you see it where it's parentheses down here, it says general expense only?
All right. There's no such thing as a dumb question?
No, I tried to highlight, but I mean, I
Yeah,
guess I could.
I see how it lines up now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Josh, just for us, it looks a little different because this is what we're looking at. And if you add the technology salaries and expenses,
Yep.
I get 553.74.
Yep.
Here on the total expenses, GIS and salaries, you have 524. So there's a little bit of savings there on your sheet on this one than what we have. I think that's what the confusion is.
All right, I'll take a look at it.
I'm assuming this is what you're operating off of. This is your gospel for your.
Correct,
budget.
exactly. Yep.
Thank you.
Exactly, no worries. All right, so, again, so we're looking to, did you have a question? Sorry.
No.
So we're looking to add the cloud-based, the additional cloud-based backup, which is, again, $2,500. Want me to just go down the line and we can have questions? Or you want to go question by
Where's
talk
the
by topic?
cloud-based
What,
backup?
yeah, what are you using?
Wasabi, which is again.
As
the,
they'll be the off-site cloud provider as well?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yep. So basically, is a cloud-based provider.
And that's based on the current storage needs? Have you projected that forward as to what the increase in storage use has been?
Yes, it's all been done. Correct.
Okay.
Yep. I believe I had it here. I apologize. I have everything lined up here, so yeah, this is it here. Wasabi. So it came out. This quote here is $22.56. What was budgeted is $2,500. Because again, I try to explain to folks that these prices today, we still have 6 months to go. Typically, in 6 months, we see increases, and I don't want to give you something that is going to hurt me because again, if the cost goes up, I'm not going to be covered for it because I'm going to give you something that's lower than higher. I typically would provide more up-to-date, information probably in late February, early March. We'd probably be able to get a zoomed-in look as far as to where we stand. But again, we're trying to do our due diligence, and I think that's why many people say well, did you follow the town administrator's recommendation on level funding your budget? We tried to. It's my best interest to provide you with my best recommendation based upon what our needs are versus just saying let's do what we did last year and hope for the best. If for whatever reason the money's not there and the cuts are being made, I did my part in informing everyone of the needs, and if again whatever we need to do, we do. But in some cases there's consequences. So but again I did what I have to do. So.
You're saying in February you'd have a better idea, so even if we put a hold on this amount, you could come back in February and let us know if it goes down?
Yeah, because a lot of these vendors, even today in January, a lot of them don't go down, they go up.
Yeah, of course, it won't be.
We'll be able to have.
But in general, I give you a better fine tuning as to what we can do, and we try to obviously work things in the best of our interest to try and reduce the costs. I mean, I had a vendor last year that attempted to increase the cost of services that were provided to us in after July, and I said, unfortunately, we can't do it. And they said, well, unfortunately, this is the bad. I said, well, it's either we continue the service or we find another provider. And they finally said, well, we'll do it this year, but we can't do it next year. And I think I've been telling you folks that we're going to get to the point where with the last 3 years, I've had multiple vendors through the pandemic say, we'll hold it. And I forewarned the committee that one of these years they're going to come back and say, unfortunately, that we can't do it anymore. So
Yes, I remember that conversation.
I'm actually shocked. One of the companies is still able to do it, which is the assessing software. But again, I think it's going to happen. Probably next year, and they're going to tell us that they won't be able to hold the value. But
Is it a different increase than what I'm seeing here with the copiers? Forget about it.
I'm sorry.
It was the copiers in the assessor's office, not the.
Now we are working to finalize our migration to Microsoft 365. We started 2 years ago, and we're in a hybrid environment still, where we still have some users on the server here in the town hall, and we're doing our final phase migration to the cloud to get the server internally shut down and decommissioned and move all the accounts. Now we've had a tremendous amount of requests for boards and committees to have accounts, which I completely agree with. Obviously they should have town issued email, in my opinion anyways, for communication in relation to any board or committee correspondence. I mean, some will disagree with me, but I think we've gone back and forth on the tech director's list. There are opinions all over the place in relation to whether you should be using a personal email or you should be using a town issued email account. With all the archiving requirements for public records and stuff like that.
Well, only if you want your personal email to be subject to search and seizure.
True.
Because if you're using your own personal account, you've now opened yourself up to that.
Yeah, 100%. And we try to remind folks, from time to time when they prefer to
I don't
use
send emails. so-
personal email, but
I don't send out emails, so I'm good.
You in trouble?
They did my
Okay,
calls.
so that's the additional licensing costs that's the $10,000 increase in cost for adding the additional users that we need. The quote, again, right here, 21,372 is what it came back at. They're increasing by 5% in March, so again, why I mentioned to you, in March I'll have a better idea, which is why that number is 23,000 instead of, the 21,372, because again, we're gonna be at just over 22,000 or 22,500 something by the time we're done in March, after the increase, so.
Josh, I just have a question to that.
Sure.
Office 365, obviously, they've changed more to a subscription.
Correct.
Well, to get more money out of people now.
Yes. Yep.
So, is this the final year of the migration, or is this still part of a phase?
No, this is it. This is
Okay.
once we're in, we're in. We were doing the beginning to get ourselves, started, get all the selectmen on board, and we started, moving users last year more and more, and now we're at that final phase where we need to decommission the server
Okay.
and move everyone off. So, I don't expect a significant increase, next year in that line. So,
Thank you.
sure. The two-factor authentication, again, one of those things that we have been doing for a few years now. I believe we started previously to the pandemic. Pandemic paid for some licenses with the CARES Act. And now we're again on our final step in making sure that all of the users, have the two-factor authentication that's required by Maya, the insurance company. So, again, we're doing our due diligence to put the right things in and make sure we have, what we need to succeed, if you will. So, and that was an additional $17.92 for the additional users. Contracted services. So, I believe if we look back at the budget last year, somehow I submitted from the general expense side $223,373.46, and what was funded was $221,240, a difference of $2,133.46. So the actual expense budget went down last year for the first time in a very long time. Not traditional. Based on, of course, everything under the sun going up these days. So I think on the spreadsheet I highlighted that number in green. Whether you have, you probably can't see it because you probably made a black and white copy.
You can see it's 221,
Yep.
240.
Yes, exactly. So that's the number that was basically provided for FY24 in the town report and the budget, so on and so forth. So, based on that, the last year's budget had $10,000 of contracted services. I'm sorry, $14,000 in FY23, and we cut it down to $5,000 in FY24. In trying to work with everyone, to offset, the increase in the salary for the position, we were trying to, again, work things around and make things work. And, something I probably regret doing, I shouldn't have done based on the fact that, I think we are shortchanging ourselves because to get, additional resources that we may need to complete things, it's, roughly $1,500 a day to bring, someone in. $1,500 doesn't go far when you're budgeting $5,000 for contracted services. So, again, I think I kicked myself in the foot by doing that, last year and reducing it. So I'm trying to get, 5,000 of it back to bring it back to 10,000, which again is a kick in the bucket here because it's just not, we need a lot more than that. And I realize obviously that times are tough and we're trying to obviously balance things accordingly and do everything. Firepermits.com. It's I don't know if you folks, burn it all at home.
I was just
or
on
whatnot,
that.
but,
I was on the fire department website today to reactivate my burn permit. There's no. Didn't we have an electronic thing before?
It started maybe just after the pandemic. I want to say JGPR, the firm that's providing that service. I I want to say started it just around the pandemic, or maybe just 2021, 2022. So it was actually paid for from initially by the CARES Act.
Oh, okay.
And, this is the first year that we're, committed to now paying for the resource, which is $1,000 a year to provide the ability for the fire department to manage the, burn permit process, to make sure they know who's burning, when they're burning, and so on and so forth.
So that's not up and running though, George?
It is up and running.
Oh.
Firepermits.com.
Okay, so, but if you go to the fire department, and you look up open burning, they take you to a form that you have to fill out and submit. It's not an electronic thing anymore. I do remember last year there was some, like you said, there was some kind of an electronic version.
If you go to the fire department site, it has a link to firepermits.com, which
Okay.
has you log in with a user account.
Okay, I'll look at it again. I was just there
I'll
today.
double check it to confirm what you're
Yeah.
telling me. But yeah, I mean they've advertised it a couple of times recently in the last few weeks in relation to burning. So
Who updates the website anyway? The town website. Who updates that?
the website, we provide guidance to the departments, and the departments themselves have liaisons or whatnot.
Like
in
for
the
example, if
departments
we're on a committee and the finance committee and it's not updated, who do we talk to about updating it?
A great question. We traditionally provide again guidance to those who want to update the site. So all the departments have a designee within their department to do the actual updating of the site. So we don't maintain every department's and boards and committees site. We'll certainly help where we can, and again, I think that's where this comes down to another sort of role in trying to keep up with all the demand that's going on here. It's just, unfortunately, there's only so much time in a day. It's...
Who's our designee?
I'm sorry?
Who's our designee?
That's a good question.
They usually
Been a week.
outsource it to the department or the board of commission and say, hey, you guys figure out, nominate someone if they need a question.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we don't force it on anyone, of course. It's up to the board and committee. We have had, a big interest in recreation, a big interest in historical commission. They're looking for Twitter accounts. They're looking for, Instagram accounts. I mean, there's a lot of, different things that are going on. And, the town controls the accounts per se, so that we have visibility into the accounts. Years ago, it was like, I forget which board or commission it was, but someone started up their own account and they, started getting into things, and it was, we have to have control over things for sanity reasons, to know what's going on and be able to take action if we need to.
Well, the reason why we're asking that is you have the obviously software maintenance, town website hosting support.
Yep.
$7,726. That's what I was just asking. So.
Yeah, Civic Plus but we've been using Civic Plus for a number of years, like all, most of the municipalities, across Massachusetts are using the same platform. So.
Kathleen?
Okay, so I have two questions.
Sure.
First one is, what is it going to take to get Wi-Fi in this room?
Yeah, it's on the list. It's on the list.
He heard the recording last week, so.
No, I didn't. I didn't listen to the entire thing. No.
What's it going to take though? Is it a router?
What's that?
The router.
To get Wi-Fi in?
No, we have a wireless access point. It's just we don't have no. I mean, unfortunately, this room was kind of like semi-prepped, if you will. We've got a network port over there, but essentially the way it's configured, I think it's actually the computer was originally over there, so now it's actually over here. So. Again, this was before me. Before 2012, this room was, the way it is, and essentially the wire is actually connecting. Like if you unplug that, the computer over here is going to disconnect. That's the way that they sort of.
It's running up around.
Exactly.
So we want to sabotage, we just knock that out, just take it out.
So we just need to get a cable run from the network room, which is a great thing because it's on this floor here in the corner, over to this room. And once we do that, then we can get the access point installed for wireless.
So fiscal 24, we're going to see it done?
It's possible. If we can certainly probably get it done before.
It's in the 5-year plan.
Just get a my file, okay?
And then I'm probably the person who started the, involving technology in last week's discussion with the library. I just asked David Casanova what he needed for improved computers, because I've had several people contact me frustrated that the computers in the library are old, and I said to David, have you submitted a capital request? And he said, no, that goes under technology. Have you submitted a capital request on behalf of the library?
Yeah, so I'll answer that for you, but then I have a few more things to go through.
Sure.
I have not submitted a capital request. I do have the actual capital request is being submitted to the capital committee at the next meeting. I'll send it to the, of course, on the committee with us, so I'll send the information out to the committee, but it is on the list. The computers, original computers that are there now were installed in 2016, so they are, 8 years old. Not to say that they were bad computers per se. I mean, we've upgraded them, replaced hard drives and stuff like that, so the computers themselves were not per se ancient history, they definitely have slowed down. They're definitely, I think, problematic, more so because, the software changes so rapidly. There's updates, daily for different browsers and so on and so forth. So I think by far the library is probably one of the most transformed, situations we deal with in relation to a number of patrons coming in from the variety of different people that come in, whether they have experience with computers, whether they don't. So, it's definitely a pain point, and we're aware of it, and we're working with David. I did listen to the meeting last week. I've sent David a couple of emails in relation to the website. I want to get his a list of concerns that he has with the website, so we can try to address them and stuff like that. But in general, we're actively working with every department head to make sure they have what they need to succeed. Which again is why we present these things to you folks to let you know that what it is that we need.
So there will be, for the capital committee's consideration, request for new computers for the library. Whether
Correct.
it comes from you or it comes from David, I don't care.
Yes. Yeah. No, technology takes care, and that, again, we centralized everything for a reason. Back many years ago, to the point where technology is, again, oversees the system. So there will be a capital article, yes, and David's aware of it.
And Kathleen, David Aronson.
David Aronson.
Yeah.
Did I
For
say?
the,
You said David Casanova.
yeah, that was a good one.
Because he was sitting next to you.
So distracted.
Just for the record.
How did you get that name?
We already have a Casanova.
Okay, so that checks one of the things off that I was going to ask as well. Is there any further questions from the board?
So.
Oh, you're not done?
Yeah, I'm not done.
So-
So copiers. So we started leasing copiers a few years ago. We have 4 copiers that are currently leased now. We from time to time deal with situations that may arise in some copiers. I mean, again, back with the 2012 when I started, we had a copier in the selectman's office that was 13 years old. And I know some of you might have heard this story before, but again, for the new folks here, we don't traditionally have copiers for 13 years. I mean, times change fairly quickly from an electronic standpoint. You all know that. I don't have to tell you that. Whether it be security or enhancements, functionality. So we, our goal here was to try and get on, and I think there was many people over the course of the years at the town meeting asking why we're buying copiers and not leasing them. And, I think it was a pain point we talked about a few years ago. We did get your blessing to move forward and start, leasing the copiers. So again, we have 4 copiers leased now, running into some issues with, 2 of the copiers, we were confronted by Northern Business Machines, which is the vendor that, handles the maintenance of the copiers, and they were having a hard time finding parts, because that's what happens when the copiers get to that point. They start, you have issues with, availability of parts and so on and so forth. So long story short is, the assessor's office and the accounting office have the same copier. Do I think they both should be replaced? I absolutely do. We do have some issues with copiers at the library as well. The library received a hand-me-down copier from the assessor's office a few years ago because again their copier they had in the back office was extremely old. So again it wasn't a great situation, but it was better than they had. So essentially they ended up taking a hand-me-down. Their color copier at the library is used by patrons.
They pay for
So
it.
patrons pay for it.
Yeah.
And, you know, the copier, again, was installed in 2016. I believe I included, again, the copier inventory report with the email that I sent out today. But again, 2016 is when the copier was installed at the library. 2014, the assessor's office, and 2015 in the accounting office. So those are our three, you know, oldest copiers. And this budget here that was presented is only looking to replace the assessor's office and the library color copier. Again, I'd love to get 3 copiers. I mean, I truthfully believe that, you know, all 3 should be replaced, but again, I'm trying to work with you to, you know.
So we're just leasing the top 4, right? Or the top 4?
Correct.
Current,
Okay.
right?
Yes.
Now, do you guys pay per copy? No, we don't pay. Is it per copy, or is it, when's the 5-year lease come up?
5-year lease.
Yeah.
It all depends. I mean, the fire department's 26, and the Public Works Council on Aging and the police department color copier is in 27.
Are they all the same company?
27. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had a question. So the assessor's office and the library, those hand-me-downs are old ones, that hand-me-downs before when we started leasing them?
The
Is that-
SFs.
Is that what they?
Sorry, say that one more time.
The copiers, the current ones that are in the assessor's office and the library, are those old hand-me-downs that we owned at one point?
So the copiers that are in the copiers in the library, the color copier was new. It was never handed down to the
Oh,
library.
okay.
So the color copier itself was new over there in 2016. The assessor's office, as well as the accounting, were, I don't want to say hand-me-downs, but they were essentially, we installed them in the selectman's office and in the clerk and collector's office. They lasted a year, and the speed wasn't enough for those groups, so we transitioned the 2 copiers to the locations, the assessor's office and the accounting office, to replace older copies there. And ordered faster copiers for the selectmen and the treasurer
Yeah.
collector. Just 'cause
So
they're
those
shared.
were ones that we technically owned, not leased. So now we're looking to start leasing some for these 2 departments?
Yeah, eventually everything is going to be on a leasing model, so we don't have to worry about capital
Right,
purchases for.
Okay.
For
One other question, I don't know if you can answer it. The amount charged for the library, does anybody know, how much money did they make on that? Would it cover the fee, the lease fee? Do they make enough on those?
I honestly, I couldn't answer. I don't
Yeah,
know
that
what
would
the
be a
library
question
charges
for David.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I know they went up, over the course of years, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean,
what the
some
current
Color,
charge.
color print is expensive now.
Yeah, well, if we charge for it, it should supplement the lease fee,
Yeah.
So, all right, thank you.
Yes, absolutely. I can certainly reach out to David too and inquire further to talk about.
Yeah,
I don't think we've ever talked about,
Yeah,
offsetting the cost with
yeah, okay, thanks.
police.
Okay, Justin?
Just last question on the lease,
No
copies.
worries.
So all of these now would be on a lease except for the accounting office at that point, essentially?
No, so we have, if we were to do 3 more copies under release, we still have the selectman's office, the clerk's office,
Okay, so
the
there's,
building department, but those again,
they're outside of this, what you have in your spreadsheet.
correct, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, there'd be no way for it to try and,
Okay.
I'd be probably,
What was the third one? Selectman, clerk, and what else? You had 3 that weren't, you said?
Building
there's
department?
more than that, yeah. I mean,
Oh, building.
all the newer copiers, if you will, that are 2019,
And none of them are shared, right?
the clerk and collector's office is shared, but it was installed in 2017. So, I mean, they're definitely,
Long time ago.
yeah, they're definitely getting older. But again, we try to, present what's possible, if you will. And I think based on what, we're looking at here, unfortunately, those may be next, but we're not going to try and come at you with 6 or 8 copies
Right.
in 1 year,
And they're below the capital amount, but do you have like do you have a mini spreadsheet on when you might sort of, not capital committee, but just because your department handles all those?
Yeah, no, and again, I apologize, but the spreadsheet
But it'll
is,
say it's, with that backup, we'll probably answer some of our questions on that
Yes,
sheet. that-
exactly.
Oh, that's you. Okay,
Yes.
good.
yes,
Yeah, it wouldn't be capital if we were talking about.
Yeah, oh, that's true. Right.
exactly.
The question, again, is similar to the other one, which is, how many copiers do you need? They work,
Can we-
we got 1 per floor.
Yeah, I
2,000
And they
people.
consolidate.
You share that sucker,
That's
right?
it.
We have 6 of them on one floor of the town hall. That doesn't seem to be a wise use
No.
of our
Mailroom.
finances.
Yeah, I talked about that before, but unfortunately, it's was a sore point. I mean, you get folks that are dealing with customers at the counter, and they can't they can't run down the hallway to get a copy. You got people at the window. You got one person. That person's out sick, or they're not. I mean, it's just one of those things where it's. I've gone down that road. We can certainly approach the town administrator and talk about it again, but it's like it's not like the schools where they have a copy center where they have 7 copiers. Where again, I think it certainly makes sense, but it's one of those things where unfortunately it has to work for the the departments that use it too. So
Okay, good questions. Kathleen?
Okay, so I'm having trouble getting
Well,
this.
that's where I am too. I just did some math, right?
Yeah,
Just
it's-
walk us through a little bit. So this was the budget that you submitted to the town administrator, is that correct?
that's correct.
Okay.
Yep.
So technology salaries, 236.81, is that what's reflected in this large spreadsheet?
That looks right up here, right? Salary.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then you have technology expenses, 316,263,
Yeah.
right? Is that what it is now?
That's inclusive. That's inclusive of
Right.
GIS. So that's
Okay, so-
including the 20,000 here.
So down here, it says
Yep.
524,074. That includes expenses, GIS, and
In salaries, correct.
So if I deduct the salaries out of the 224,074,
Yeah.
I come up with 287,263.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's where
I'm
I'm,
sorry.
He's
What
got
were you
4,000
deducting?
training that I
the
think
salary
he
line, right?
You're deducting the salary line.
Yeah, 236,811.
Yeah.
And I come up with 287,263.
And you're deducting also the GIS, correct?
No.
GIS 20,000. And then that comes out to the 267,263. Okay. All right, I'm just trying to get,
Yeah. No, I
coordinate
get it.
this with that.
Absolutely.
That's all.
I try to break everything out so that
Sure.
it's clearly understood. I mean, none of the departments give you this. So.
No, we
No.
appreciate
Yes, it would.
They don't.
We certainly appreciate the budget detail that you provide, there's no doubt about it. So, again, we're looking at, so if we're looking at percentages, and unfortunately, this format didn't give us percentages. And I apologize, when you first came in, I gave you some credits for complying. I was looking at the 2.5% that was on the Article 2 that was provided by
Yeah, I
the.
was kind of surprised, but
So I
yeah,
apologize, I wasn't trying to be, first time in my life, I wasn't trying to be sarcastic.
Oh,
so.
okay. All right. Good.
What percentage do you believe that the technology expense line now would be increased over fiscal '24? Do you have a percentage?
Just the general expense?
Yes.
The general expense, it looks like 20.8%.
Okay, so 20.8%. So if in fact that the town administrator and subsequently the board of selectmen didn't concur with a 20.8% increase in the technology budget,
Yeah.
just per se, what, and if you don't have an answer, that's fine, but is there some prioritized in your mind, what would have to take?
Yeah, I'd have to take a hard look at this
Okay.
and figure out where we could actually potentially even try to.
Understanding fully the needs of the department, I'm just.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Like I said.
I mean, I think that again, I'd really have to take a look at things. I mean, the copies would be gone,
Yeah.
because it's
Licenses would have to be, you'd have to cut back on licenses. You're not gonna go to these companies and say to them,
We only got this much.
2.5%. So
Yeah.
Microsoft's not gonna say, yeah, oh, that's fine, that's, yeah, no.
Yeah, and it sounds like it's I mean, I agree with you, and it sounds like it's an easy thing to do, but unfortunately, it's like when you have requirements, that's the hard part. Is that if you look at the actual, and I've been saying it a couple of years now, if you look at the actual budget, 75% or more of it is software based. So it's it's really it's tough.
The more we advance, the more we have to pay to keep up with the time, right?
And if we don't advance, you have your risks.
Yeah.
Rosemary?
But this is, I think we talked about this a little last year. So your increases last year were above the Madden recommendation, far above. And again, this year, above. I'm not saying that's not warranted. I'm not saying, but procedurally, if we're going to keep up with how we bring in money, sometimes you have to look at an override for departments that are growing at rates. So we're shifting and changing a model that's sometimes I think that might have to go back to the public.
I think it's more
Make that-
departments, I think other departments need to buckle down and the priorities need to
It's a
be
shift.
made by the selectmen, working with people like his department
It-
and prioritizing it.
So you would
because
have to
it's not-
shrink other departments to create the growth in this other department. Keep in mind.
We don't have a,
They will have to
we don't have
shrink
an income problem, a spending problem.
I wish they were true, but that's not true.
It is, every
We
department head is
certainly have a
coming in
revenue
with,
problem.
you know, not, some of them are taking the town administrator's advice and some are not.
So when we had the Madden recommendations, it was really clear. We would need an override, and the way that we were going to prevent, only for 2 years, an override, was that we were on a strict financial diet of 2.5% and 5% with schools. And here we are. I'm not saying that this isn't necessary. I'm saying matching the finances and the revenues coming in to this. At one point, if we're not meeting that, that override has to happen.
That override will not happen.
Well-
Or the growth doesn't happen.
Let's not,
Or you
let's
pull
not
it
debate that
from-
now.
I
Yeah.
want to kind of tag on to what she's asked, but I want to ask you, Josh.
Sure, absolutely.
So we've had requests and we've added staff. When that takes place, how do we look at that? Are we just looking at the salary? I know we often talk about pensions that are attached to it and benefits. Anybody come to you and say, how much will the licensing be to get somebody here? There could be $5,000-$10,000 worth of software licensing, right?
Yeah, I mean,
That
those
question
are,
never asked?
no, those are, no,
Well,
those.
we ask that
and-
question every year.
And, I mean,
If
we
there's
do, but-
growth,
Correct,
When they add,
you can't-
correct, and that's where I think we're gonna get to another level, is the fact that
Already spent the growth.
once we get to the full subscription model, there's gonna be a cost associated with every new employee, and that's what you're getting at. It's
okay, so
essentially,
you're moving towards,
correct, we're gonna
Alright.
associate a cost with every single, so that when you go to add a position, it's gonna cost you X. They're gonna need a phone, they're gonna need an email, they're gonna need this, so you know what the cost of adding another person's gonna be.
and that's broken down by department, so. Because obviously some departments don't have the same costs as others
Of
based
course.
upon their
Correct.
needs.
Exactly.
All right. Thank you. That's what I was kind of looking, because that
Yeah.
answers that other.
That answers the
It's a
question
whole
I'm
right
asking.
now. If you don't know it, you're just looking at adding a body, but it's like outfitting a firefighter or a police officer.
Yeah.
There's other
Yeah.
stuff.
Gear.
But this
No,
is it. This other stuff, when we had the Madden report, what was the size of this department? And it's a department that I think we had a conversation. It's like when roads started, you know, there were expenses to building the roads and it was unnecessary. It's like a technological road. And I had asked that question. We had that conversation. But those expenses aren't in line with the 2.5, aren't in line with the diet that we were given, the financial diet of the Madden report,
Understood, but it's also,
and
this is,
significantly so.
it's
Yeah, I think-
operational cost. Right? There's the problem.
It's a different operation.
Nah, yeah, but I think when was the Madden report done?
Quite a long time ago.
2019, I read it this
Yeah.
afternoon.
Yeah, and that was prior to the pandemic. So
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, all well and good. I think we need a completely different report because today's day and age, you know, and again, I'll be front with you in saying that the 2.5% as a taxpayer myself, unfortunately, when this 2.5% thing came out, was it 1980? I mean, we're in 2024. I mean, I think
I'm not
that
saying
from a state level needs to be, you know, rectified. It's not, you know, again, I don't think it's sustainable that we, and again, it's not, I think there's a lot of different pieces of the pie here that have to move with that. But in general, I think, you know, from my perspective, as one person previous to that position being created, we're going to have another meeting with Mary Beth next week to go deep dive into all kinds of stuff. And I'm hopeful that after that meeting happens, we'll have a better understanding of what this department does and what we're responsible for in relation to everything. Because I'll be honest with you, we'll stop soliciting for grants. I mean, we got a grant for $182,000 to replace fiber optics in this town, which would have been presented to the finance committee as a project.
Yeah, we've already
I
been,
mean,
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's
We've
not
already
like
been
we're
made aware
not
of it.
doing our due diligence to try and.
I think
You know.
I want to make this really clear. At no point did I say what you're doing is not. It's about funding. It's about if one grows outside of that realm, then other departments we're pulling back at other departments. That's fine. If you're growing, then identify where we're taking that money from. That's all.
Yeah.
And,
Well, I think it speaks to the broader perspective of the entire budget. Every department depends on technology to operate, right? So every department has, skin in the game, as the old police chief used to say, and should be, obviously mindful of what this department needs to effectively run. So that, I think you need to take that into the context.
I typically make recommendations too on where to actually look for savings, and I've been saying that for the last few years, that we need to move to an ACH to pay our bills electronically, and we've yet to do that. And once we do that, we're going to save paper, we're going to save toner, we're going to save time, I mean, there's so much in that, but again, it takes change, it takes people, it takes buy-in, there's a lot involved in that, but again, there's significant savings. I mean, just look at the postage. We're not sending all this stuff out and paying the post office to do all this. Like, it's just, there's a trickle effect.
So I don't want to cut, I want to make sure we have a complete discussion with technology. We are running a little long with technology, but well to be expected. When you have a good amount of backup to present to the finance committee, you can expect to have a longer meeting. So Kathleen, I want to get to you, go ahead.
Okay, last question I have is, you have a bottom line here of 524,070. That's expenses, GIS, and salaries. And when I add the individual lines up, I get 553,074. So this is, I just got this tonight, but if I add up the 236,811, 4,000, 20,000, 33,533, 187,132, 15,4, 15,000, and 12,198, I get 553,074.
So is this another one of those with the line, remember the line was
this
computed
is-
wrong?
This is adding this up.
This is just adding here, yeah.
It's not a spreadsheet thing.
So Elizabeth
It's
is
a
making the
$29,000
29,000 isn't included, right?
It's on this one, but not on this one. So
Is it the town telephone?
Town
On
telephone
telephone system,
system
correct.
Line 340
is not
is
on
in
the
here.
sheet.
And that's why, again, I've tried to explain this in many years when, Frank was here as a town administrator, to try and, consolidate and make sense of all this. I think it relies on our accounting system, and unfortunately, I don't think, Karen would disagree with me. I think we definitely have, an accounting system that needs to be replaced, and I think it would be only beneficial for all of us to get to that step, just because of the fact that it would have better insight into the entire budget from a global perspective. But unfortunately, it's, again, that we've got needs all over the place.
But should telephone be added to this?
Telephone it's always been separate, if you will, which is essentially why it's not in this particular.
But if you were to put it in,
separate
where would you
budget.
put it? Would it be down here at the bottom?
It would probably be under
Just so it balances.
telecommunications, but again, it's the way that the actual back end of the budget is set up. It's completely a separate account, which is why it was never encompassed in here. I can certainly merge everything together so that it's more beneficial and you can get a better.
Might be better to do this because if you see on the main thing here that we have, it includes the telephone system as part of technology. I think I know what you're saying though. In the R sort of accounting system, that's not really in the treats, like a separate line item probably.
Yes,
Yeah.
I mean, because again, it was telecommunications years ago, and it was never sort of part of the technology expense, if you will. So,
Do we use, what accounting software do we use? Are we,
SoftWrite.
what is it?
SoftWrite.
Software.
The old version.
I was like, I've never even heard of software before.
Well, there's two softwares. There's SRO and there's the MMS, which we're using, which is
The MMS.
Legacy.
I've heard about
really,
this, so that's real
it's so
legacy.
antiquated.
Yeah.
It's just a database.
Okay, I might ask you a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hopeful at some point maybe we'll be able to get grant money to do something with that, and I think it's definitely a priority on our list, but again, can only do so much.
I speak with accounting, but like community compact grant, try to see if we could get some seed money for that, because
Yes.
that's a real legacy there.
Yep. Yep.
Maybe go after that and then have to figure out it, put it in the budget.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I don't want to beat the dead horse, but where are we going to put the $29,000? this is a new backup. The 29,000 is in the original budget request, so is the actual budget request 553,074.
Well, it's gonna be in the Article 2.
Yeah. In the technology budget,
It's gonna be in the technology budget, yep.
so this 5.
Because it's line 340, it's in department number 8, it's in your department.
So 524 is 074.
So I'll avoid the confusion if you'd like. I'll take the $29,000 out and we'll leave it in the tech. That way there's no confusion. I just want to, right now, they're separated. So telecommunications, as much as it says telecommunications here, the telephone itself, telephone line in the budget, has been funded for a number of years at $29,000.
Yeah.
So that's completely separate. So if it helps, I can make the adjustments to the numbers so that they,
I just
in
want
line with
what was
what you're
submitted,
looking
I
for.
thought from you, as the budget 8, and what you've given us tonight are, it's the same information.
So Josh, that same question, do you think that line, that the town telephone system, line 340, should be in another budget? Should be in another department? Would that be a better solution for you?
Selectmen?
That's where it's in. It's in its own separate. Maybe Karen can chime in here. I think the telephone line has been a separate. It was not encompassed as part of the technology budget. It was a completely separate line.
I think we're saying, for,
No,
Josh,
yeah.
for the layman's terms, like, I know what you're saying
Right.
because I work here. but
Right.
When you look at our budget sheet we have here.
Yes.
Under technology, it has it included in that tree. I know on the
Right
back
on
end,
the
it's not at all
Yeah.
part of your budget
Yeah.
right there. So I think for us, for everyone's looking, you probably, to match up with this, include it in your sheet.
Okay.
That's
All right.
probably
Yep.
what I would say. I know what you're saying.
No worries.
The end number works, it's just, it's funky when you're
So,
looking at it.
so let me just ask, just for, in our, Department 35, it's called townwide expenses. Would that be better placed in that area?
No, I think I'll put it in telecommunications and I'll just label it telephone.
Okay.
That way.
There you go.
I'm just trying to think of what
Done.
is better
Yeah.
for you too, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah. That way everything's all the ducks are in a row. We don't have to worry about scrambling who's wearing. Yeah, no worries. I'm all about again making sure everything's clear and clean. And honestly, from what I was told, all I should have presented to the committee several years ago was what exactly was you were just showing that
Yeah.
this form here.
And Josh has always come in with
No,
more information.
I hope that doesn't change
You know,
because we depend on the budget to back up from.
Because we keep asking for
Yeah.
more detailed from the others.
Oh, I'm sure, and more specifically, so I want to provide the insight into the more. When you see a significant increase, you want to be able to see where it's coming from. And
Right.
at the end of the day, again, we're trying to do what we can do. We just got surplus network equipment too, for the record, from Pittsburgh State University to save ourselves some money. So we're doing what we can with what we have, and always looking around the corner to try and see what we can save money. So.
And I just want to follow up on one thing, Karen, if you allow me. I know we're cut into your time here, but I just wanted to just talk very quickly, and you mentioned yourself the grant to link internet to town buildings. We were given like a 10,000-foot view,
Yes.
and my hope was that we could get a little bit more information from you, but is this now something that's off the table, or?
No,
Oh.
the fiber optic.
That's the
grid?
Yeah.
fiber, that's the fiber.
Yeah, no.
So-
Essentially the existing, fiber optic network we have outside now was installed in 2004, so it's 20 years old. Life expectancy on them is roughly 25 years. So we're definitely seeing pain points. So we know that we need to do something, and that's why we went ahead and solicited for the grant. We still have to put an RFP out there for the project, and it has to be awarded, and so on and so forth. So I'm hopeful that we'll have something happening during the summer. And again, I think we ended up getting an article at town meeting to cover the cost difference in what we're looking at for a number. And I don't know where the question. If the question,
Well, the question was,
to
what eventually is going to be the goal, and are there going to be subsequent expenses related to expanding that, or is there additional fees that could come into play at some point?
It's hard. I don't think so. Based on what we're looking at, we are, again, looking at adding network connectivity to the Armory. We don't have anything over there now as a town building. We're looking to extend network connectivity down to the pool house. to be able to do, stuff in the park, and, we've got quite a bit of ideas. I mean, this new network is going to create a ring, if you will, to provide redundancy on both sides of the town, so that if we have a tree come down on one side of the town, no one's going to notice the difference. Police will be up, fire will be up, everybody will be going. No one had any idea that anything happened, but it requires, planning and.
The Armory, isn't that a storage facility for,
Well, right now it's gonna be the
Oh, it's
temporary
gonna be-
DPW,
yeah.
so they're
is
gonna
that
need.
why we want the connectivity?
Well, just one reason. What will it be eventually, right?
It's not a big run either, because the fire department's right there.
Exactly.
It's there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that was the reason why we had mentioned it, because it's distance away, and it makes sense to have connectivity there. Not only because it's a town building, but also the ability to monitor temperature, monitor doors, have, you can't do that with no connection,
Okay.
So, I mean, from the security standpoint, it was definitely, top of everyone's mind.
Would that connect?
Sorry.
With that connectivity, is that something for the cameras in the park that would help get those up and running? I'm not the type of guy.
That's a completely separate topic, and we've got, work in progress for that now. We're changing gears a little bit, and now we're gonna do that, but that what we're planning in the pool house will provide us the availability to expand, in additional areas, whether it be wireless access or at some point.
Which might support that? Will it support those cameras, or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we're also looking at, I think many people have been complaining, which is a completely separate project, but we're looking at trying to, for options for, people's pain points with residents' TV and cable and internet. I mean, obviously Comcast is the only runner in town, so not to, take any Karen's time again, but again, this is another project that we're looking at and trying to solicit potential, providers to provide additional services to this town, with the exception of Comcast, so that you have the option to choose who you want to be with. And it's going to take a lot of, I think, time and effort to try and get something like this off the ground, but it's definitely on our radar, and I'm hopeful that we'll be able to save everyone some money at some point. It's just, unfortunately, it's just an awful lot of stuff that we want to, I think, accomplish in the next, 5 years, and, we, of course, hopefully we can get, the support that we need from you to do what we need to do. I mean, I completely get it as a taxpayer. I don't want to see the cost go up anywhere. And anytime I see areas where we can save, I typically bring it to someone's attention. But that's all I can do.
Okay, excellent. All right, everybody, all set questions for Josh? Josh, we very much appreciate all the time.
Non-budget questions, could be quick. Email migration,
Yes.
do we need to?
Was that a
email
fishing
from you? Was that an
expedition
official email from you?
I thought it was
I don't
a
click,
fishing-
I throw all the
deleted
other
it.
ones out. Are we really migrating now?
Yeah, we have the ability.
What do you need us to do?
migrate
What do we need
your
to do?
accounts. Traditionally, the preferred method is to download the Microsoft Authenticator app on a phone. So I don't know if other, you have other accounts that you use that for, but the Microsoft has an Authenticator app that basically requires you. It's basically two-factor authentication. So you log in and you have to enter the code or whatever. I'm sure it's like if you log into a bank these days, they ask you to do all this kind of stuff. So I think it's your choice whether you want to download the app or I think you want to get an SMS text message to your phone. It's but we have to somehow be able to verify that you're logging in.
All right, so that's a follow-up with you guys personally.
Is this something that Mike can handle for our committee?
Yeah, is it just the Microsoft, or is it the Authenticator? Can you Google Authenticator, or is it just gotta be the Microsoft?
Microsoft, they prefer the Microsoft Authenticator app. Yeah. Just
Okay.
because it's their system.
I got
whatnot, but-
I got like 6 different authenticators.
Yes, exactly.
Put it in one.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. You got it.
Looks
Some people may have it, some people may not, but yeah.
All right, so that's just something we need to do so we can support it going to the cloud?
Is there a
Yes,
timeline?
once you move your account to the cloud,
Yeah.
you'll have 15 days to enable that. If you don't, then you're not
Okay.
gonna be able to get into your account. So.
Okay.
What's the deadline for that?
There's no deadline at the moment. I mean, we can move your accounts, whenever you'd like, but I mean, the sooner the better. I mean,
Okay.
we're trying to get everyone that's on the system here today moved over by June 30th. So.
Oh, June 30th. So there is a deadline, June 30th.
Yeah.
Okay,
All right, thank you.
all right.
No problem.
Good job, Josh.
Thanks very much. All right. Karen, we apologize for the long delay for you. We'll see if we can get you in and get you out.
That's okay. It's all right, mine's quick. It's a teeny weeny budget.
There you go.
This will be all the same.
No, mine is nothing.
All right, so why don't we go around the table? Karen will introduce the board. We have 2 new members.
Ralph Mitchell,
Hi, nice to meet you.
Mike Warner.
Hi,
Hi, Karen. Justin Casanova Davis.
nice to meet you.
Kathleen O'Tina?
Al Cafferty, right here.
Chuck Colby?
Okay, and the budget for the accountant is Department 5, and it's right on the first page of the Article 2, and it starts on line 112. So, like we did for last year, we will let you present your budget, and then we'll open it up to the board for questions.
Okay, so it's pretty simple. There's my salary, there's the town accountant's salary. The expense has gone up a few $100s because I got a new printer in the office and the toner is very expensive. And that wasn't anticipated. I thought I was just getting a little inkjet job. So I don't even know if that's enough, but that's what Mary Beth and I decided to try for the first year to cover the toner. And then I have a cell phone which runs about $600 a year because I work remotely
Yep.
as well
Okay,
for the moment.
so that is pretty basic, like you said.
Yeah.
That's it, in a nutshell.
All right. So, so line 186 for me, is this the certification that's something in process?
It is, unfortunately, there wasn't money for me to go to boot camp. I don't know if it's sad, good, whatever, but I am leaving the town of Whitman in 2 weeks.
Whoa.
I'm going back to Duxbury. It's been a month-long, arduous, back and forth thing, and it's really best for me.
Okay, well, we're sorry to
I
hear that
have
you're
a
leaving,
big
but
staff,
certainly have to do what you do.
more updated
Yeah.
software. I am very familiar there. I built everything, so the certification stipend is not going in
Okay,
there.
very good.
Yeah, I apologize, but I don't want to hide it as I'm sitting here.
Sure, no,
So-
that, appreciate that.
Honesty.
Yeah,
Well, if you're going to, maybe you could give us an idea of what would make this run a little more effective in your opinion.
Well,
The software you mentioned?
Well, the software is absolutely horrible. I was shocked when I came here. It's so old. I can't even build account numbers without stealing from other account numbers and canceling out old account numbers. I like closing the books. I had to do entries that I had never seen before because even the system, even the SoftWrite SRO, which is antiquated in itself, we in Duxbury, we're looking to upgrade from that. Is like state of the art compared to what I'm using here. Everything's very manual. It's a database. You can't see anything. You have to run all these reports all the time.
we used to
Talk
get
about toner and
reams of
paper.
paper. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
What a waste. But you know, with the cloud version, you pull it up, you can see all the credits, debits for all that account number. You can see what's happening. This system you cannot. You have to run
have to print it
reports,
out.
run reports,
Yeah.
and chase everything down. So I've talked to Josh about this like day one. We need to get a grant. Also, the chart of accounts does not comply with UMIS, the Uniform Municipal Accounting System. So that also has to be revamped at the same time. So it's a big project.
Okay, Justin.
This may be also because you're leaving, but your professional advice or expertise, I think, is important for this committee to know, and how important this is. It's important for transparency and the financial well-being of the town. Obviously, we're assuming, and the people in these roles are doing the right things. But when you have something like that, where you have to do all these different reports, you cannot actually see. This is where you
No.
read the news.
And
The people are doing some funky stuff, so this should be a priority.
yeah, it really should. You really should get going on it. Like I said, it's.
Mary Beth is obviously aware of this.
She
right?
is. I'm very verbal.
Yeah,
About the software. I'm
yeah.
Well, I think
Comparing that
Ken in that
to-
role used to say that, you know, that it was pretty onerous as well. you
Yeah.
know, So,
Yeah, I was shocked, because I came on the premise it was SoftWrite, and I never thought somebody was still using MMS, so I thought it was the same software I had in
Would you have
Duxbury.
stayed? Would you have stayed?
No, it's not that. There's a lot of things. I have a full staff. I worked there for 8 years. I built so much that they all use to run the department and so forth. I'm going to tell you, this is not a 20-hour-a-week job. I work well over 40 hours a week since I've started. I blew it off in the beginning as I'm new, and I had to get things caught up, and you just can't do it. So
Right.
that's something else that you maybe
Looking
have
at
to look at.
You were only part-time?
Yeah, 28 hours for a town accountant. So in Duxbury, granted, I have payroll in my office in
Yeah.
Duxbury, but
Yeah,
I have 3 staff, a management assistant and 2 others,
sure.
plus a finance director. So there's quite a difference.
Quite a difference in towns though, too, right?
They're
Yes and
they're
no.
pretty much double. They're
Yeah.
double, so you'd expect at least.
And
A little more
we
staff
do
there.
handle the schools as well.
Yeah,
So that does,
your
Increase
EQD
the
is
work.
double.
right.
The population is more.
yeah.
Did you get a sense from Josh about what the financial impact to upgrade that system would be?
Well, he said we couldn't go for the community grant right now because he just got it for the fiber optics, so
Right, yeah.
kind of have to wait.
And how long do you have to wait for your next grant application?
I want to say it's 2 years.
Oh, yeah.
But
Can we trade again?
Yeah.
It's really a necessity, so maybe they would overlook it if somebody
Sure.
started pushing.
Yeah.
If they saw the chart of accounts and saw the horrible system,
Yeah.
because I talked to DLS also about it, and he said, go for it,
Yeah.
because we need it here.
Who
Well-
would be the person to push that? And
Josh, he chooses
Okay.
those, it's the tech.
And it would be, certainly a decision of the Board of Selectmen to move in that direction as
Yeah.
well, right? With
So
policy
when you're
decisions.
saying this is so antiquated, it's an antiquated system, how off are we? Are we off by 5 years, 10 years?
A good 10, probably.
So this is something that is
Yeah.
significant.
There are other towns that do use it. Hanson, I know does.
Sorry.
Foxborough.
That
Those
is-
are the 2 I do know that are still ticking along on it.
All right. Well, does anybody have any other questions for Karen? Because we don't want to keep you, we've already kept you longer
I'm
than you could
sorry
have
for
been.
all the bad news.
Well,
So here about now, you know?
well, we definitely appreciate having the information and support your decision, and certainly wish you the best in your future endeavors.
I can tell you things are
It's
in
interesting.
halfway decent shape in there for me to leave. So.
Good.
Good.
And you got 2 more weeks to make it even better, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna try.
All right.
Try.
Good luck in
We
your job.
appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks
All right.
for trying us out at least.
I enjoyed working here very much, very much. It's just going back to where I came from. It was bad timing. The town accountant there left like a couple months after I left here,
And it opened
and they
up
haven't
again.
been able to fill it. They reached
Yeah.
out to me. I blew them off. I really tried, and then I finally.
Listen,
gave it in.
the information you've given is valuable.
Okay, if I can help any other way, or
All right.
you know where to find me even
Yep.
when I leave.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
All right. Have a good night.
You too. Thanks.
We may have to bring her back as a consultant.
Yeah,
Well,
It's a tough position.
it is. Well, especially like working in the conditions that we have, for sure. All right. So that brings us to the conclusion of our budget meetings for tonight. If you go back to our agenda, I think we left off on the, I gave a report for the Public Works Department Building Committee, the audit. I did pass on the information that we were looking for the additional information for the salaries for administrative people, if we can incorporate that into the audit. I did let Mary Beth know that. Any other questions related to the budget? Rosemary?
I think I said this. The 5-year back, I asked for to see how we've grown each department, because I think listening to some of these departments have grown significantly, and we can all say, oh, that's important, that's great, that's what's needed, but keep in mind, our levy is only 2.5%, and over the last year, it increases, and in many of those years, we did not even collect to the 2.5%. We failed to collect new growth some years at close to $1 million. So we're not even growing in past years at 2.5%. That, of course, rolls forward as well. So when we have departments that are growing at 20%, and last year it was more than 20%, it was even more than that. Remember that that's going to pull from other departments. It's the same pool. So at one point, what you usually do when you're shifting the service of a department, that basically you're redefining what that department does, and you're growing.
The budget goes with it.
Well, it's not just the budget goes with it. That's when you go back to the people and say, we are redefining, the town needs something. And that is how you properly use an override. You don't use it as operational. You use it because you're shifting something. That way it doesn't negatively impact the services that you're providing, that you're just sort of rolling forward at that 2.5% or at what's in the levy. So when I'm seeing departments grow exponentially, even though I may agree that they're important, and it has to do with how we're budgeting forward, that we're going to be putting a tight squeeze somewhere else. And we're already saying, hey, everybody's going to, not grow this, we're already saying just to maintain a service, we'll end up cutting another department if we do that.
Of course.
So I have to ask, can we look at a 5-year, how we've allowed different departments to grow at what rate, and start to have that conversation of...
So perhaps we could reach out to our Board of Selectmen liaison to put that together?
Yes.
I guess.
Sean likes to make graphs. He does a great job at them.
So I do have it on my items for follow-up, get a report on department growth of the past 5 years. Does that describe what you were
Each
asking for?
department's growth for the last 5 years. It's supposed to be part of what a finance committee does anyway. 5 years forward and 5 year trending out. That is part of our, at least was part of the finance committee handbook 2 years ago, 3 years ago before the update. I don't know if it's in the updated version.
But you're right, the trending is the other piece, right? If they've been growing, if a fictional department has been growing by 7% each year for the past 5 years, we can project forward they'll grow by an additional 7 per, right? And that allows us to look forward down the pike. And in the end, you're right, it's going to be services get cut, revenue is increased, or people get cut.
Yeah,
Which of course means services too.
Yeah, great point though,
and
too.
the public has to agree to that. The public has to say, yeah,
Well,
we
that's
don't
what I
want
said, you have
this.
3 choices.
Yeah.
Right, some of it is attributed to obviously the COVID, the era of the COVID with the opera funds that they were budgeted.
Expand budgets.
And we never looked back and said, hey, no, we got to bring it back because those opera funds were one-time costs. And we're assuming that let's keep going, and we really back then probably couldn't afford it.
We should be backing those costs out, much the same as
Right.
if we had some educational piece in the
Right.
school.
But we're not.
Huh?
We've seen budgets come in saying, we added these people
Correct.
during
COVID.
and now we're gonna convert them into,
Right, and that's
Ongoing
what's
expense.
really
Whoa, whoa.
Well,
affected
but there
a lot
wasn't
of towns.
that wasn't just this, and I think when
Yeah.
we were adding that COVID money in, I was like, we should have a third line for that.
Tell you right now,
We should be trying to,
other towns are going through the same
I
thing.
said that.
Oh, yeah, we're not-
Nobody, and they didn't want to do that because they
Yeah.
they wanted to expand.
And that's
It was
what
part
happened.
of that.
That's what happened. So,
Okay, so that's a follow-up item.
Chair, public forum.
Yes,
May I add a public comment at the end of the meeting?
sure.
Done by Attorney Russell Road. I wanted to just comment on the comment that Rosemary Connolly made about an override. And if you go back to read the legislation in the 1980s when Proposition 2.5 was passed, we added the language that allowed for an override because the understanding was that 2.5% would not be sustainable for the years. So there is reason for that, and there is a time when that's appropriate. And I'll speak now to my position as a school committee member, that I sat in a meeting last April where the town of Whitman and the town of Hanson was not able to fund the school's assessment, the school's budget, because the towns directly asked the school committee to then use $500,000 of the excess and deficiency, which the regional school district, along like the South Shore Vocational School District, can maintain their own excess and deficiency account of up to 5% of their operating budget. So that would sit at around $2.5 million if Whitman Hanson chose to do that to secure some funding for emergency situations. That balance is now down to about 400,000. We used 500,000 last year. And so 60% of that is Whitman's, around 300,000, that we already know the town of Whitman didn't fund last year. But the district has those expenses. So we're coming into another year, and we're gonna be looking at both towns thinking, can we fund this budget? And we see the town budget's growing, and it's just an opportunity where people should be thinking, what does Proposition 2.5 mean, and when is it a time to say, we have needs, we have expenses that we have not been fully funding in the past. So along with, I heard library tonight needing technology, that's a community hub. That's where your youngest, your oldest, all citizens have access to technology. They should, and that should be another piece of it. I just wanted to add that.
Okay, thank you, Dawn.
Just for a financial point of that, Ms. Byers, thank you, because you brought up a great point, but we're borrowing from the school for a very large building, and their bond rating is reliant on their excess and deficiency, and we know already they're not paying into OPEB at the rate that we are at the town, because we have sort of strangled their ability to move with any extra money. It does cost us. It's not a bargain. If we are a town that has no industry and very little industry. That's our economic engine. That's our economic engine. Schools create the EQV and the value in the home. So when we're borrowing against it, and it has a bad financial model of not having enough excess and deficiency and not handling their OPEB correctly, because we're shortchanging how we're investing in our economic engine, I think, we're not really getting that bargain by, not paying them. And we went into it when Mr. King came in and talked about proper finances, and right from the Department of Revenues and description, the schools are the ones you start with. That's your first budget. And here, we're doing that backwards, and that's really, in a town where that is how we stabilize our EQV, that's really bad financing.
Well, just to add to Don's comments too, was the town also had to utilize one-time funds to close that budget gap as well. So I think it really kind of shows that, this is another department for the town. And we have to start considering, even though it's the largest department, because we had a Board of Selectmen meeting not too long ago with a joint meeting with the Finance Committee, and the chairman of the Board of Selectmen waited till after the Finance Committee was dismissed to say that perhaps the schools should consider an override. So that, to me, I don't know if the rest of the Finance Committee is of that same mindset, but in my mind, we are one town and we have one commitment to utilize our limited resources to the best of our ability. So.
The year that we used the money, remember, we have a policy for all aid that we take in. We retain 22% of that. I think it's 20 or 22% of that in our stabilization accounts. Was there an amount of aid that was reduced by the state in the schools that made us have to replenish that from the stabilization? Because that's different than the quantified, amounts that you would regularly keep in stabilization for emergencies, but that would meet that emergency, right? That aid. So I'd like to see if the school had lost aid in any way, and I think there was some.
I think they added bodies. Wasn't they added bodies?
No, we had that. That was not an add body year. That was actually
it's the same thing with the COVID.
We
We added bodies.
Not that
I
year.
asked you.
She wasn't on the school committee that year.
But that year they added bodies.
No, they didn't. They cut.
They didn't, about.
What year are we talking about?
The year we added stabilization was the year they were gonna cut like 30 teachers or something ridiculous, and then they ended up cutting only like 10, I think.
Is this before the statutory method and the town used $843,000 of
Yes.
stabilization to pay its assessment?
Yes, right
Yeah.
before.
And then people must have said, wait a second, why is Whitman
But
not?
that's about when I
Yeah.
said exactly that.
It's like 2017, 2018.
Yeah, it
So I
was,
said,
it was
why
an
is Whitman
inordinate
paying the
amount of
same
money.
amount?
And then it was, why?
Okay, well, we appreciate your comments, we appreciate you being here, you're always welcome at our meetings. All right, so let's get back into our old business item then, the fiscal '25 budget. So just, the last departments have been notified for the February 13th meeting, which was Conservation Commission, Planning Board, and Historical Commission. So I do know that we heard back from Conservation, and they do want to come. At first, they were kind of confused why they were being asked to talk about their budget. You know, there's always some trepidation involved. But I said, your decision to come to the Finance Committee is totally yours. I said, most departments that don't often come to the Finance Committee come merely to talk about what their committee does and how they interact with other committees. It could be as easy as that. So she did send another email and say that she would be coming on the 13th.
So that's Sandy.
Yep. Yep. So that's Sandy Cortez is the
Yes.
chair of the Conservation
Very
Commission.
nice, Sandy.
And then the Historical Commission, Molly Schnabel, and then
Schneid.
I got Schnabel. Schnabel. So
I think it's
Snabel,
Schnabel.
sorry.
Snabel. Okay,
Snabel.
sorry. And then the Planning Board, we have Adam Somerville is the chair, and he has been notified and hasn't responded. So that might be an easy meeting for us, February 13th, just so you know. February 20th is school vacation, no meetings that week. And perhaps on February 27th, we'll get back with the Finance Committee and the Board of Selectmen in a joint meeting. And then following that is the Capital Committee.
So Adam Schneeway, just to remind you, finance committees aren't just about the budgets. Finance committees handle all financial matters. Adam Schneeway is an important person to have a meeting
Especially
with
this
because
year.
he is handling how we do that MBTA overlay. And there was a concerning meeting last week, well, we were in this meeting where they had a pretty good plan in place that would meet a lot of the requirements. And if this isn't done right, we're going to lose those ability to have the grants for the
Superfund cleanup
the
sites.
the cleanup sites that are really going to be important for the builds locally, particularly DPW. So I hope that Adam comes in because we did have a builder come in and try to pull away from. I think we had a local builder who has used industrial sites in Hanson and just built his own industrial stuff, come in and advocate for the opposite in Whitman. And I can't square that with, well, you're telling Whitman citizens not to do industrial. And then additionally, they're saying you need industrial. Well, we've had this industrial land available for some time, but they've chosen industrial off of 18. Whitman industrial has grown. We had some of the largest growth in industrial in Massachusetts. 2 years, a year ago or 2 years? So, but the people who came in averted away from this industrial land. They chose that this was not doable for them. It probably was because it really isn't located in a place that you can easily come off of the highway. But it is located right near the MBTA. And it is, and then another thing was said that the brownfields and the cleanup would be eligible for the grants for those if we did it. So a lot of the things that were said in this meeting were either very uninformed, which would be very surprising because this individual is an informed individual, to the actual circumstances, and would not be good for Whitman taxpayers to avert from that plan and to get off course. We should be getting that MBTA Community Act in play immediately and doing it accurately.
Okay, so if you attend a planning board meeting from now until February 13th, maybe you could mention to Adam.
I'll do it. I won't
he
come to this meeting, and I'll go to that one if that's what happens.
Deal.
I'll call him. I was going to send a beautiful email.
Okay. So, and then, sorry, I missed the February 6th, we are scheduled to have Whitman-Hanson Regional School District come in and present. And
February 6th.
February 6th, and then backing up January 30th, Town Administrator and the Clerk. And then January 23rd, Animal Control and Cable Access, which Cable Access is probably not going to present, so that'll be another short meeting right there. And we are pretty much 2/3 done with the budget meeting.
The cable access is another one. Their budget might not be ours, but they financially, they are located in a building we own, and we have an expense of the town. I mean, these are the same things. And this is information we can get separately, but I'd like to know how much we lease that building for.
Yeah, well, you're gonna have to do it from some other means, because the director said he would not be coming to the meeting.
Are we coming? That's interesting.
Okay, so that's it for the schedule. Anybody get any questions on that?
Did you ask Don Essen if March 5th is going to work?
No, because it's more than 30 days away.
All right. Why are we waiting until March 5th for the capital report? I mean, I'm on the committee. We're not meeting now until January 25th.
Well, we wanted to give them a chance to do a pretty deep dive into all these capital requests and hopefully get some priority, because there's the likelihood that not all capital projects are going to be funded,
Correct.
right?
Yes, absolutely.
So that's why we pushed them off. 'Cause that still gives us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks to prepare our recommendations to town meeting. So
Okay.
that's way more time than we had last year, just to let you know.
Yeah.
Do you have a
One
list
day.
of all all of our you still don't have a,
No, I do not.
so we don't,
I've asked for it on numerous occasions. I
so
do
we
not.
don't have a list
Nope.
of all of the things
No.
the citizens,
You can
okay.
keep asking.
Well, that's
around.
why it's March 5th. So
And that is
by then they
unbelievable.
should.
And we haven't met since before Christmas.
Okay.
The
How
frustration in my
how
voice.
can we vote on anything?
We'll get it together.
No. If there's
Right.
there's no request,
We'll
or
get
there's
it together.
no information on it, the answer would be no.
All right, and then our final item on old business is the annual report, which brings us to communications. This is from the Executive Assistant to the Board of Selectmen, Laurie O'Brien. We have begun the process of coordinating the 2023 annual town report for the town of Whitman. In order to meet the goals for printing and distribution, please submit your 2023 annual report to this office by the end of the day on January 31st. So, happy to say that we have a final draft ready already. So, thank you all for your input, and Kathleen for correcting everything that was wrong with the draft. I got a B-.
A minus. It was wonderful.
All right,
A
so
for
that's
effort.
all I have for communications. You see the next 6 meetings are listed there. Anybody have anything else for the good of the order?
Welcome. I
Thank
didn't
you.
meet you
Welcome.
last
My name's
time.
Al. How are
Yeah,
you?
hello.
Nice to meet you.
All right, well, thank you all for attending, and I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? It's unanimous.
Chuck.
You going across the street?
You guys gonna bring a habit on?
Are you kidding? Drinking? Of course I make that
Wednesday night?
Whitman's right.
Yeah, it's very.
You might be okay going in, but coming out?
It's been hard to get
Trustee asked $1 million question, actually, wasn't it a 40, how much of those
Yeah, I
cameras in
don't
the
know,
park?
40, it was a good
Yeah.
$40,000
Nice to
question.
meet you.
I know,
Yeah.
that was 2022.
It was.
It wasn't 2023.
It was a while ago.
It was
Yeah.
It was 6 vandalisms ago.
Yeah, and how many smearing of the
Yeah.
disease.
And after having the recreation in, they're telling us of everything that happens over there.
Yeah, but
Why can't we get that going?
Well, we're waiting for the fiber
Okay.
optics, right?
I agreed that we should upgrade technology and I agreed that we were behind time, but
You can have another FOI.